Hey guys, welcome back from Classic Work. I've had tons of people numerous times ask me about my favorite torch accessories. For folks that don't know out there, this is a acetylene oxygen setup for acetylene torch. So you can run them off propane, natural gas, propylene, however you say that, MAP gas, all that kind of stuff. But this is all for the acetylene version of all those. So, my favorite accessory. So let's start from square one. So this right here is a traditional torch striker. It's nothing but a piece of flint and a piece of steel. When you hit it, you get a spark. You ignite your torch, more or less. I cannot stand these things. It seems like everybody picks one of them up when they're working around you and they'll sit there and strike it and wear your flint out. And I don't know if y'all ever tried to replace flints in these things, but it seems like nobody makes a universal one that you can just put on there. Even if you buy a name brand and everything, it seems like you never can find the tips to replace them. And I don't know, they're real bad. They're kind of flimsy. Like if you wear them on your side like I do, then they'll get caught on stuff being all hollow in here, especially on pegs and chains and all kind of stuff, and they'll bend on you, and a lot of times you'll break them. So I cannot stand flints. And the other big thing is, if you ever get them wet, the flint won't strike anymore. So I don't like them. I cannot stand them. My favorite striker is this little guy right here. This is a lightning bug. Radnor makes them. I think there's some other companies that make them too. This is a 08100. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to find one of these. But I am shocked that nobody has ever said anything about them, because I wear them all the time. It's almost like an accessory in all my welding videos, because you'll see it slapping the side of my leg almost every time. But I love them. This one right here I've had on the truck for, counting the 552, probably 4 years is when I started running one of these. Now the way they work is they use a kind of like a grill igniter setup. When you squeeze the handle, you may can hear it, but it uses like a little static shock, more or less. Let's see if we can get some of that on camera. You may not can see it. I think you can see some of them. But they're a little bit delicate. I've noticed that sometimes when they ride in a truck, if you've been on a rough road or something, they won't work right. Like you'll squeeze them and they won't do anything. So a lot of times you have to slap them up against something, beat them up a little bit, and they'll go to working. So, but yes, that is one of my favorite strikers, is one of these. I hadn't had one break yet, and they'll work when they get wet, get damp, and they still work. I'm pretty sure they would probably work up underwater or something, but anyways, love them. That's a great accessory. The other huge thing I see a lot of folks that don't do it is nobody has quick attachments on their torches. This is a huge time saver. I mean, like, huge. Anyways, there's several different brands out there. This happens to be my favorite. It seems like these don't leak and they're easy to get on and off. Once again, I'll put a link down in the description where you can find these. But let me show you how easy they actually work. So this is on my normal two-piece cutting rig. I'll probably use this torch probably 80% of the time. So you saw how easy that was. So super duper easy. Now count it. We'll start the timer. How fast was that? What was that, 10 seconds? So you talk about a production saver. The other thing too is it allows you to not keep a torch on your hoses. So in case you have a setup where your hoses are exposed, you don't have to worry about a torch leaving your truck. So anyways, you can buy the kits. They will come with a male pair and the female pair to go onto your hoses, and you can equip different torches with the same setup. So huge boost to your productivity and less frustration. So yes, I highly recommend them. Next tool I want to talk about, and it's probably the one that most people want to see, is the Scorpion manual track torch. It's pretty neat how it works. I'm still getting used to it a little bit, but from the little I've used it, it's pretty neat for certain things. But how it works is you have a track here that's made out of aluminum or aluminium, depending on where you're from, and so you have this little slide right here, and this thing's got a centrifugal brake in it that when you mash it down, it goes at a certain speed. It'll go either way, doesn't matter. But you've got a set speed that you run it at, more or less. You can kind of play with it to go a little bit slower, but most of the time it's set at one speed. And it works pretty decent. So you've got magnets here on the foot here. You can see that they love to collect grinding dust and all kind of stuff like that. So keeping them clean is kind of a pain in the butt. And I've noticed that it struggles really badly on anything less than, say, you might could get away with a piece of 3/8 plate. If you drop any more than that, you lose a lot of your flux and your magnetism, and it won't grab it. You'll be sitting there pushing it, and all of a sudden, she'll skew on you. So it works real good on thicker stuff from what I've found. But if you need something to make a real good straight cut, it does an excellent job of that. So I'll show y'all a demonstration of it. So I'm going to show how this thing kind of works more or less. So you got your free travel right here, and then you mash this lever right here to put your centrifugal brake on. You can hear it moving. And then this little knob right here is for your adjustment. The only really big problem I have with this setup is it gets catches in it. What I mean by that is when you're pushing, it ain't doing it now, but a lot of times it'll catch a spot and it'll just stop. But it ain't doing it this time. I guess it's camera shy. But I can't stand it. I hate it when it does that because it'll mess up your cut. So let's try it. We're going to preheat. I'm a little close to my metal, but I'm going to work with it. Alright. He's already a little preheated, so here we go. You see them catches? That's what happens. Supposed to fall off, but can't quite catch it everywhere. So that was not a great cut. It's okay, but it ain't great. But you can see there's where a little dip, that's where I quit cutting right there. But the drag lines are not bad, but it's not as good as a track torch. To me, it's too inconsistent. But for a manual torch, you know, that's way better than you can do in the field with your own eye, you know. So it works pretty good, but I tell you, the two biggest complaints I have about it is, and maybe just mine, that this centrifugal brake, you can see it in the video, see how it stops? You have to put a little more pressure on it. And it's possible I need to take it apart and maybe there's some gunk or something up in the gear train. That may be something I need to look at, but that's one thing I don't like about it, and you have to buy separate tracks for it to get longer, which I get it, it's a marketing kind of deal. They want you to buy more of them pretty much. This is the one that comes with all of this. It's only 15 inches long. And let me tell you something, you think you can cut a lot of stuff with 15 inches, you can't, because you don't have that much travel. Because this, like for instance, if you come all the way back here, you're missing 2 inches right there. And then towards the front, you're missing another 2 inches. So realistically, you can almost cut 12 inches. So it's not great. They come in several different sizes. They got a 2-foot one, a 3-foot, and a 4-foot one, which I own the 3-foot one, I think, and I've used it a couple of times. And it's handy for certain things, but the time that it takes you to set it up and everything is just, to me, it's not as great. The big benefit to it, to me at least, is this angle gauge right here. You can, this joker's pretty warm right now, but you can untwist this knob here and tweak it, and you can cut you a 30 or a 40 or 5 degree angle on a piece of plate if you needed to do some lay-in work, like if you needed to have 100% penetration on a weld. That's the real big benefit to it. But other than cutting straight and messing with it, the time messing with it to me doesn't make up for the fact of getting it all right, if that makes any kind of sense. But it's not a bad tool, and I would recommend it. For certain things, it's the bomb at. So yeah, it's one tool I would recommend. The last tool I'm going to show is a circle gauge. This one happens to be homemade. My uncle made it years ago. This thing's probably older than I am. But you can buy these. I'll show a couple down in the description where you can find them. But if you need to cut a circle in a piece of material, or an arc even, they are pretty handy. I've only used one a handful of times. I'm not no great star at it, but for certain things they do a pretty decent job. I've noticed once you get past a certain size, they get more difficult to use, and once they get past a certain small diameter too, they get even harder to use. So you have to kind of pick your battles with these, but if you practice with them, that's the main thing with all these tools really, is if you practice with them, you'll get decent with it. So let's cut a circle out. Alright, so I got a circle laid out here, and I want to cut this out for a part that I'm going to make. So we want to keep the inside, so we don't have to worry about we don't have to worry about this piece being exact. So we'll do a little center punch mark here. Now on the store-bought ones, that's a good enough mark for you to use because they use a really fine point, but this one being homemade, we're going to have a little bit bigger hole. That'll probably work right there. Yeah, I need a little smaller hole. So I got to drill this out anyway, so that's not an issue. So pretty much what you do, there's two ways you can do this. You can either take your tape measure and measure from here to the center of your torch holder, and that'll use that as your radius, so you'd be half of your diameter pretty much. Or you can set it up like I'm fixing to and just kind of eyeball it the best you can. I'm going to go a little bit over just to make sure I've got enough. And let me go grab a wrench to tighten this up. Alright, that should work. Let's set her up. That turned out pretty good. Let's see how the circle did. Got a little wonky there on the side there, but that's a lot better than trying to do it freehand. Let's see how symmetrical it is. 5 inches. 5. 5. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. That did pretty good on my torch work. There you go though. Other than that little boo-boo right there, that turned out pretty slick. So if you didn't have an edge like I did to start at, if you had to do a pierce, you about have to blow you a hole in there before you start. So yeah, or drill one or something. But yeah, there you go. Good old circle cutter's not a bad thing to have. Oh, well guys, that's probably going to wrap it up for the torch accessories. There's some other ones I didn't talk about, and the main reason behind them is they're kind of one-trick ponies, and some of them are incredibly expensive. So these are ones that you can buy pretty reasonably, except for the track torch. It's a little on the pricier side, but it is a decent tool, and if you get good with it, you can have very good results with it, just like any tool. But yeah, anyways, I did want to recommend another YouTuber. Y'all know me, I like to recommend certain folks because they deserve the recognition. This month, or however often I do these, I'm going to recommend Wide Vision Fab. If you like this kind of video that I did, he does a lot of tutorials, old Matthew. He does a lot of different tutorials and how-tos and just projects on the farm and stuff like that. He runs almost the identical service truck to mine to catch up. I think if I were to guess, it's about an 87 or possibly maybe a little bit older, maybe an 85 S-line, like a 1854 or maybe a 1954 International. But got the same motor I've got. I think he's got a 9-speed in his and air brakes and all that jazz, and he's got a knuckle boom crane on his instead of a straight boom like my truck. But great channel, loads of good information out there. I've learned a lot from his channel actually. You know, one of the very first videos I think I saw of his was how to cut a big hole on a drill press, and that was pretty cheeky what he had designed on that. It's almost like a line boring deal for a drill press. So very good channel, very interesting stuff. Go check him out, give any of his videos a thumbs up, and Matt, I appreciate you watching my channel, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of traffic on your way. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. Till next time, from Classic Work, y'all take care, and God bless.